And concerning my new book, a lot of people have asked me how much of it is true or not true. It's going to be sort of based upon true events, kind of true. Unfortunately, with these kind of biographical things these days, you have to be like hyper careful, which is why it's taken so long. The thing was written 2 years ago. I mean, it's been pretty much done. My publishers have done an awesome job with the editing, but we keep having to go back and revise and re-edit because when it comes to these biographical things, one has to be cautious about what they're saying about other people who are still, of course, among the living and may be offended by this or that or whatever. Kind of the freedom portion of writing in America has gone away, unfortunately. We can't just write and say what we want to anymore because everyone is so litigious these days. So, yeah, unfortunately, portions of it are definitely fictionalized. I had to use a lot of composites and things like that. So it's going to have to be kind of a based upon true events sort of narrative. But that's okay because I think it relays the sort of truth about things in kind of a deeper sense. And I'm hoping that's kind of what comes through with it. And it's kind of my narrative of being... in this, I chose to focus on, although I could identify easily as a psychiatric survivor, it focuses on kind of my struggle with trauma and my turning to drinking as a method of medication for that, and some of the adventures that ensued. And that's been kind of a struggle. Both of those, all of those things, really, all of my life. Probably also is why clients identify with me so well, interestingly. So, yeah, that's just kind of, it'll be kind of my sort of fictionalized story of kind of some of my struggles with that I'll keep writing about, and hopefully, you know, that'll help other folks, especially professionals who've had trauma, whether it's, you know, developmental stress, trauma, and who've maybe turned to drugs and or alcohol, something, to medicate themselves. It just makes sense to do that. Because if you're under enough stress, you're going to do something to medicate that. And things that get a pass in American culture, by the way, are food. You notice that people can eat themselves to death, and that gets a pass. That's like, okay, you can be as overweight and diabetic and on death's doorstep, oh, wow, she has a stick, as much as you want, and that's totally cool. But if you drink 3 drinks a day or whatever, then by God, you're an alcoholic and you're damned, and society will kick you out and you'll have an arrest record, and you have got to go to treatment and spend how many months of your life. It's just ridiculous, in my opinion, a lot of this. And that's going to be, the next book is going to kind of be some reflections on some things that are and are not issues when it comes to substance dependence or abuse, and trauma and things that we know these days, which I think actually merits a lot of discussion because it's not as black and white as people think.